Hey everyone, welcome to NectarWineBlog.com. I'm your host, Josh Wade. Today we're going to have a great time down in Napa, California with Folie à Deux. I think that's how you pronounce it. I took French in high school, but I'm not 100% versed in it. It's been a long time. It's a phrase that means shared fantasies. Kind of just lost my train of thought with that phrase there, but anyway, I digress. These wines are kind of a lower price point, well, medium price point wine, that sweet spot price point of around $20. And we've got a Chardonnay, Merlot, and also a Cab. This is from Napa Valley. It's 100% Chardonnay. Half the juice was aged in stainless steel, and the other half spent 6 months in a combination, or in American oak, just to give it a little bit of toastiness and round out the flavors. In the glass, you've got a nice, actually, really nice golden color in that typical Napa Valley Chardonnay. Let's give it a sniff. Very reminiscent of a lot of wines I've had, just straightforward with some apple and some citrus, and not a lot of different characteristics happening on the nose. But it's not unpleasant by any means. It's actually a pretty decent smelling wine. Let's give it a sip. So the palate's got a lot more happening on it than the nose had. You've got some flavors of coconut, and you also have definitely tell that it's been aged in oak because you have a kind of a burnt toast coming in towards the very back end of it. Almost slightly disjointed on that burnt piece of it, but for those of you guys that like an oaky Chardonnay, I wouldn't call it an oak monster or an oak bomb by any means, but it has those characteristics to it. A lot of those smoother, rounded apple play flavors on the very, very front end. All in all, at $18 retail, probably find it around the $15 price point. A lot of people will love this wine. There's about 25,000 cases made. Should be well distributed across the country, especially on the West Coast. So you can see a lot of people really liking this wine. All right, the next wine we have from Folie à Deux, I say that right, is a 2008 Merlot. This is from Napa Valley as well. It's actually 86% Merlot, 14% Cabernet, probably to give it a little bit of strength in the back end there. 7 months in French and American oak. That's actually a little thinner than I would expect in the color. It tends to be a little more watery towards the edges. Let's give it a sniff. I like this. It's got a good brightness to it, not overly complex by any means. You get some good subtle spice and the cocoa components that I would expect of Merlot. Definitely would pull it out of a blind lineup as being straightforward Merlot. It's smooth, rounded on the nose. Let's give it a sip. Really like the flavors on this wine. At $18 again, $15 price point, probably a lot of times on sale. It actually gives you a really good flavor profile in the mid palate. In the center is a slightly sweet cherry flavor. And then it goes across the back. It kind of evolves into a couple different things with the cocoa and the spice. Kind of has that coffee flavor to it that you find on some Merlots as well. Just a tea or coffee component in there. So loving how that plays across the characteristics on the palate. Last but not least is a 2008 Folie à Deux Cabernet. It's 97% Cab, 3% Syrah in there. 25,000 cases made, $24 on this wine. So the highest of the three in the price point. Definitely, actually in the glass, it's not quite as thick as I would expect. Probably really difficult to come across there on the camera. I don't know why I always do that. You can see through to the bottom of the glass. Actually has a little a dark inky center, but then dissipates pretty quickly across the edges. So let's give it a sniff. Okay, so for me, it's not a ton happening on the nose. I would expect a little bit more. I'm just getting some subtle toasty characteristics, some really dark fruit, and like a cigar box type thing, or just some cedar, some burnt cedar in there, but not overwhelming, not like campfire or anything like that. Just a little bit, like you just walked by a room that was coated in cedar, and it's not overwhelming by any means. Let's give it a sip though. Okay, so as where the Merlot had a great character flavor profile from the cherry to the coffee and a little bit of spice, this one's mostly just like plum, and then just a hint of that cedar or that oaky component that you can tell has been imparted in the wine. Really mild back end on the structure, the tannin structure, being a 2008, still really young, but doesn't have that strong grip by any means. Made to be like a softer, smooth, drink now, drink early, drink often kind of wine. Not overwhelming. I think at this price point, I've experienced a lot of wines that far surpass it. Give this one a try. In the tasting room, or if you're going to try it by the glass, before you commit to several bottles, just to see if it's up your alley as a wine goes. So all in all, loved the Merlot was actually a standout for me. Surprise, surprise! I love Merlot. The Chardonnay, I can see a lot of people enjoying it. For those that like Chardonnays, I'm not flavors. That's always meant to be a joy, friends. I hope you're doing so. Enjoy your new year. Enjoy that.